Perfect. Cool, cool, cool. So we are here with one of our first podcasts here at the Solution is Kings. So this is actually pretty exciting. So our topic we're going to be talking about today, we kind of just came up with, and I think I like this, our racial structure that we got here is just something that's hitting us at the top of the dome piece that we want to cover. And that's why, or what is holding us back? Is that the question we had? What is holding us back from betting on ourselves? Right? And I want to emphasize that specifically because my angle, I guess, if you will, is going to be around that financial or that entrepreneurial jump or that leap of faith that it takes to, we want to say bet on yourself or believe in yourself to overcome those fears. So that's the topic. And we have my man Curtis here today and Miss Nicole also as well as with us. So we're going to open it up and I guess just give our insights, man. Drop some of our values or values or just our thought process, I guess, if you will. And yeah, let's open it up. I think one of the reasons I wanted to jump on this is just because, we were having a conversation yesterday about some family members and just in general, really. And it kind of came up of wanting to bet on self, and that just took us in a lot of dynamics of what that really meant to us and what's holding people back and the fear element. So I'll throw it out there for y'all to maybe chime in, see what some of your thoughts are, what's keeping or what kept y'all or what's keeping even up to this part. I can start off though too. What were some things on what kept me from betting on myself? I believe was just that fear of the unknown initially. Entrepreneurship, I think I've come to learn that that's all I really do. So it's a real interesting concept. So I don't know. I want to open it up for you guys. I feel like I always bet on myself. I mean, I don't have no problems doing it. I understand the fear factor. And yeah, I just think I just want to open that up for, kind of get some insight from y'all of what that is. Cause I think in everything I've done, I feel like I've had to bet on myself. Now, I was looking at what areas I want to talk about. Was it like what's some of maybe the emotional journeys, or maybe there's some things that I've learned? It's been a lot of things that have came through that, but I think I wanted to just kind of hear y'all's direction and what's coming to y'all's mind first before I go any further. So I'll
Well,
open.
Sean, do me a favor and kind of explain to us what the concept of betting on yourself really is. What is that about?
Well, let me just start. Well, let me start where I came to me. I don't because it might mean something different for everybody. I was having a conversation with my cousin, is where it started, originated from, right? And in that conversation, which is a typical thing that's happening, I've dealt with it. He was in between jobs, right? He's a salesperson, so we were just talking about he wasn't happy with the current job that he had just landed. When we were also just talking about, I was asking him like, he's been in sales all of his life. So that's all he's done is really sell. So I was just really trying to figure out what did he like to sell because he wasn't happy in the current job that he had just landed because it was inside. So that was one of the elements. He likes to be out. And I understand that too. He didn't like being in the box, don't like being in a cubicle, if you will, right? And I totally understood that. And just being on the phone, then when he also was breaking down what he was selling. So it wasn't really challenging him as well. So like I understood that. So I was asking some questions. We were like, well, what do you like to sell? And what is it about sales you like? So number one, we kind of figured out is he likes to be outside and door to door or whatnot, because he has that flexibility to now you could do things on the side. You have more flexibility of your schedule. No one's looking over you. So I was like, okay, I get that. So then I just dove into a little bit more like, have you ever owned a business? Right. But prior to asking that question, he led off the conversation with, you know what? Even though I have this job that I just landed, but I've only been there 2 days and I already can tell this is not going to be a good fit, which, okay, that makes sense. He said, I'm just going to bet on myself. So that's where it came from. He said, I'm going to just quit here. I don't have anything else lined up. I just, I'm just going to bet on myself and figure out something else. So that's where it came from. So I was trying to, in my mind, when I heard that, I was like, well, have you ever owned a business? Like ever out of business? And that's kind of where my mind went with that when I heard that. And he said, no, right? He's always been 1099 or he did Melaleuca, no, it's not Melaleuca, I'm sorry, Prime America. And I was like, I can understand why he didn't like that model. So outside of that, he's always did something where he was either a 1099 or a salesperson, and then they always needed like a side hustle, something on the side. So in my mind, I'm like, well, we're always betting on ourselves. And I can see when he said that, that's why I asked that, because the same, especially being a salesperson, I've felt like that same energy he's putting in selling someone else's product or service, that you can do that for self because you're already are doing that. So that's where it originated from. So you asked me where did it come from? It really just came from me having a conversation where someone said it, and our mindsets around it totally different, like totally different. And then when I was wanting to bring up the fact of we're doing the same thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with working a job or anything of that nature, but in my mind, he already has the entrepreneurial mindset, or he's already kind of self-efficient because salesperson lives on commissions. So another thing he had brought up was like, he wants to be able to take care of his daughter with, I think it was child support. Something else he had said that made sense, but you're still not stable in that right now if you're looking for another job. So that's why I was like, let's bet on yourself and create something that's all you, that you can be passionate about. That's just how my mind works. So again, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah,
Um,
gotcha. So now I understand it. So when you're betting on yourself, you're talking in concepts of like transferring that to like the entrepreneurial journey.
that's how I was looking at it.
I
Correct.
got
Yep,
you. Okay.
yep, yep,
So with
yep.
that being the case, I bet on myself more now that I understand the concept. But in the beginning, what really held me back was the imposter syndrome, right? I
Mm,
didn't feel I was good enough. I felt like, I didn't have the years put in that other people might have put in, even though I might have had the knowledge. I
mm-hmm,
don't know. I just inside I felt like, okay, I didn't put in years of this, right? Um, like some of the other people have done, but I knew just as much. So I just felt like I wasn't good enough. So that was one. And then you mentioned the fear of the unknown. So that was another one. And then, a lot of times we're conditioned by society,
mm-hmm,
right? So even though he kind of was an entrepreneur being a 1099, right?
mm-hmm.
It's all about the mindset. So even though he was 1099, I think maybe in that instance, maybe he had more of an employee mentality, right? Because he was kind of always underneath somebody else's umbrella, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes just being conditioned to be like, okay, maybe it might be more comfortable to have that job, right? Maybe, no, I was prior military, so the first and the 15th, knowing that I'd always have a check. So it's kind of hard sometimes to transition from employee
Mm-hmm.
to entrepreneur.
I get,
So,
I get that. And this is what me and Kurz were talking about. Because you're right, Kurz, you brought up a great point too. Because when I hear salesperson, and because I used to sell cars, so I get the transition. I used to sell cars. I used to be commission based. So there's
mhm,
this element where it's like this gray area, right? Because you
mhm,
do have this freedom, meaning like it's commission based, like so it has to be off of results. But the other element is like I felt you almost are self-employed. So for instance, when I was selling cars, you don't own anything. All you have to really do is show up, but all your product is out there. And what's interesting is the desk managers, they're not necessarily tripping on you. All they look at is like, what was your production for the month? For the most
mhm,
part, you know what I'm saying? And because it was that flexibility, you could take lunch when you wanted to. You scheduled your own appointments for shows. You had to like be on the lot. We call it just being on the, because you never had walk-ins, things of this nature. But for the most part, selling cars was, if you didn't stay busy, it was somewhat boring because you were just sitting there. So you had to be productive to like find how to do things. So the reason I say that is because in my mind, I always felt free, but there was an element, like you were saying, of feeling like I was at a job, but the freedom was so flexible. I understand where he was coming from. I still could do a side hustle. That's when I was
right.
doing network marketing. You know what I mean? Like I seen like, so I transitioned into more entrepreneur coming from that aspect. So I guess what I'm trying to point out is there is no security in a job or even in a sales position. You're still at the limb of someone else's
Mhm.
control, if you
Absolutely.
will.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
Right.
saying? So
Yeah.
it is a mindset, but that mindset is also what I feel keeps a lot of people stuck, because at the end of the day, you're the one still controlling the narrative or the outcome, because you
For
don't have
sure.
to work there. You're trying
Yeah,
to work there. You know
for
what I'm saying?
sure.
Like,
For sure. Well,
you know what I
Curtis,
mean?
Yeah.
what do
Well,
you
well,
feel?
I'm feeling that fear can be paralyzing. So, and we don't really talk about that a lot, but when you have when you have a structure that's been laid out for you from the standpoint of, you know, you're going to work from 9 to 5, you know, at the end of that 2 weeks of working 9 to 5, you're going to get a certain amount of money, you're going to get a certain amount of resources. That creates a level of comfort that when you want to make a switch to entrepreneurship, that's you may want it, but actually making that leap means you have to bet on yourself. And we're not in a society that has conditioned us to bet on ourselves. We're in a society that has conditioned us to have an internal dependence on that structure. So when you step outside of that, it's fearful. But the result of walking into that fear can be something that we've always wanted. But your pain has to be so deep that it's worth you walking through that fear. And therein lies the thing. Do you want to walk through the fear to get to the other side of it?
Ah, so that brings me to like a point of like fear and faith can't dwell in the same space.
Absolutely.
So actually, at the essence of all these different things that hold us back, the root cause is really fear.
Absolutely.
And the transitional stage is faith.
Absolutely. Because you have to, like you said, they can't coexist. So when you're in the walking towards, it's almost like if you say that being an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship is the light, as you're walking towards that light, there's going to be things that cause you to stop. There's going to be things that may cause you to detour. And it is my thought and my belief that all those things are the test of, do you want it bad enough? Are you thinking that you want to be an entrepreneur, or are you knowing that you want to be an entrepreneur? Are you open, or do you want to do you want to rent to own yourself, or do you want to really own yourself? You have to make that choice. It's a hard choice. So that's why I always tell people there's nothing wrong with working job. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Being an entrepreneur is not an easy journey, but the fruits at the end of that journey are something that are very magical.
Absolutely. But what happens if you're ready to go on that journey and then you have a spouse, significant other, family members, friends who are speaking into your ear, right? You don't have that support system. What do you do with that? You're betting on yourself, but other people aren't betting on you. What do you do?
That's so true. So it's almost like we talk about the imposter syndrome, but there's almost always also this thing of, I can show you better than I can tell you.
That part.
Yeah,
I can
for sure.
show you better than I can tell you, because we're asking everyone, or our families and family, friends, everyone else, to come along on a journey with us, but we're leaving the 9 to 5 side, and we're asking them to come along with us. So a lot of times we have to show them the results of the path that we're walking, because then that tends to eliminate or decrease some of the fear of taking the walk.
Good.
All right. That's major. I agree with that. Like I felt like y'all said a couple of things there that was really hitting, like, people not, like your spouse maybe not, or the other half's not, or family just in general, right? Not betting on you. I think that's part of the biggest element of yeah, the journey in itself. That's pretty, I don't want to say challenging, but I mean, that's one of the challenging aspects. But yeah, it's so interesting. You were saying something the other day, like I'm realizing that though too. Like we are all wired differently. And I think we are, like you say, that programming is such in there that we stick to what we're used to. But then I always ask the question too, as well, is like what are we doing that is what we're doing currently serving us? That's kind of what I operate from. And when I look up, and again, and I'm seeing there's no big difference either, because I was thinking about what we're talking about betting on the cell. There's nothing wrong with a job. There's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur. I think at the end of the day is like, what is it that makes you feel fulfilled and happy? And what is it that helps you live that freedom life, if you will? So when I look at the elements of how money works, this is kind of another thing I was telling them, because I get both sides, I've done both sides, and they're both needed, right? We got to have income. So one's not necessarily better than the other. I'm definitely on that ingredients. But what's very interesting is the way money really works. That could be another conversation that we can have. I think we should do another topic on that for sure, because money is it's so taboo. I didn't even know how money even worked until I even got into my 40s. Like really understand the depths of it. Outside just having greenbacks and all that, really getting into it's crazy. But my point of that is at the end of the day, we're the assets and we have to understand how to have cash flow where we're not necessarily trading so much time for money because we're the most valuable commodity. That's my long-winded piece I'm trying to get at. And until a person can wrap their head around that, it's like you won't really grasp the mind that you have to have a business. It's imperative. Just the way money works, to be able to save more of it in your pocket as far as taxes and things of this nature. Assets, like we have to understand how to create an asset or invest into one. So it's like until we can understand some of those principles, we're always going to be chasing the money, basically, is what I was wanting to also was get to in that conversation and betting on self. But so I don't know. I guess I don't know if that's off topic or whatnot, but I think it's just important that that's part of that programming that's not in there when we're having these conversations with just an employee mindset type person.
No,
And
it's not off topic at all, because you have to become your own agent. You have to become you have to really dig deep down and understand, what do you want that's best for you? What makes, and your family, what makes you feel like you're going to be able to leave a legacy for your family? Do you want to create something that you can leave for your family, or do you want to uh continue to work up until a point where they may have a little bit left for whatever you have from working your 9 to 5? And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a 9 to 5 at all. I'm just one that believes in creating your own legacy for your family.
and again, this is what's we'll say you can't do it with the 9 to 5 because you can. You have to do it with the right mindset. So let me throw this out. There's one thing I learned from one of my mentors, and this was super helpful when I got this paradigm shift. Poor people are poor, they pass over opportunity repeatedly is the acronym, right? But they're poor not because they do not make money. They're poor because of their mindset around money. So poor people really think that they need to go to work only and specifically to make money to pay their bills, their living expenses. Like that's literally the only reason they feel they need to make money. And that's the only reason they make money. Middle class, which is disappearing, very similar, but a little bit better. They know they got to go make money to keep their debt in order. So credit cards, mortgages, student loans, they're living off of debt. They're living off of credit. So they're literally going to go make money to keep their credit in good order because that's what they're living on at the end of the day. And then the wealthy or rich, they literally make money, and the only thing they want to do with their money is have their money make more money. Like that's it. And then they live off of the money that their money made. So you don't have to be rich or wealthy to have those mindsets. So like the person at McDonald's now with a regular, minimum wage job can actually become wealthy and create a legacy for their family, even with the job. So it's definitely the mindset piece that is interesting. So this is why I just love hanging around entrepreneurs and all that, because they just think differently, and it's just so much counterintuitive to what the programming is in society when it comes to working. So like you said, there's nothing wrong with working. You need it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have it. You gotta have a job. You gotta take care of yourself. But what are we doing with the money and all that? That's where that mindset piece comes in. So when I heard again, going back to the betting on yourself, like truly betting on yourself, to me, is having a business. So it's just interesting, man. So it's interesting how that mindset, and it's just, and then when you're talking to someone, because you do want to help them, it's not to be battling or to be combative. No, we're wanting to help, but if our point of views aren't matching, that's where it's like, well, how do you overcome that when person wants their views to be valid, and which they are. So it's a little,
Right.
it's
I, f-
interesting.
I feel like, and it goes back to what you were saying in the beginning of the conversation, is it's all about mindset. You can't bet on yourself if you don't have the right mindset, because there's different components within that mindset. Understanding money, understanding how you work. There's the component of structure and discipline. There's all different components of a mindset that you need in order to be able to successfully bet on yourself. So it all starts
Yeah.
with the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. You're absolutely right. So if I was going to put a question out, or just saying, what does betting on yourself look like? What does betting on yourself look like?
Mm,
So, I mean, I'll say that right off the bat. The first thing that comes to my mind, because I've been initially, it's like jumping out of the airplane with no parachute, like literally, and just believing in yourself on the way down that you're going to catch some wings or catch a glide or something. Like, and I know that's kind of like risque, and that's the fear factor. Again, then this is me. I'm not saying that's what it means for everybody, but initially, like, that's what it means to me. I believe in if I'm what I'm going to go after. Now, granted, that work all the time, absolutely not. But if I didn't jump, I wouldn't even be where I'm at today if I didn't jump a lot of places, because I wouldn't have been able to figure things out from jumping in that unknown. So it's like just belief. That's all it
right.
is. Regardless if you're gonna, because success is nothing but failure until you got somewhere. So success is nothing but a bunch of failure, really. So
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's just my thought. So me betting on myself or just believing enough that I can make it happen, even if I tried it and I didn't make it happen,
Mhm.
I still feel good for believing that I could and trying.
Yeah. Got you. For me, uh, what does that look like? It means I'm not going to waver. I'm not going to be over here 1 minute, over here the next minute. I'm staying the course, right? I'm committed to whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish, whatever my end game or end goal is. For me, that's what betting on myself is.
And for me, it means having a plan and taking what I have, the concept that I have in my head, and writing that down,
Hmm.
and then looking at it, and then taking the necessary steps to execute that, and being consistent, and being thorough in getting those tasks done, and
Gotcha.
not giving up until they're done. That doesn't mean that all the steps will work. So then what I do in that process is I take the gold nuggets that have worked and keep rebuilding the steps until you get to your destination.
Gotcha. Okay. So here's what I would ask you, and I'll go first to kind of lay this out. if you could give people 3 action steps of what they can do, like you kind of gave some, what would they be? Like for me, you said plan, obviously a plan. So how would you do that? For me, I would write it out, and I do write it out on a Google Doc or a piece of paper or something. So I have like a physical, tangible reference so that I can have my plan. And then 2, I would surround myself with a support system of like-minded individuals or people have already gone where I'm trying to go, or hire a coach if I need to, somebody to help me implement my plan. And then the third one for me would be consistency. So I would have a calendar, or I would have different project management system or something that would help keep me focused on achieving my goals. So those would be my 3 action steps of how I could execute you know the tools. Or
Absolutely.
so what would your 3
Absolutely.
things be? Like what would you tell the audience how
Well, a couple of those match actually. The first one is to definitely write it down.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I'm not necessarily, I may be driving or something of that nature, or in a place where I can't write it. And so what I'll do is I'll take my phone and
Mhm.
just make a quick note on my phone, just so I'll have that documentation. And
Mm.
then yeah, I do that all the time. I take it because what I find for myself is when I get that idea, and you may think it's just kind of a fleeting or something that just pops in your head. If you need to get that, write it down, record it, something at that time, because that's usually your trigger for your next steps. So I take that, I write it down, record it. My next step is that I look at how do I go about implementing what just that thought that just came to me. What steps do I need to take? What do I need to uh, find myself a mentor? And when I say a mentor, I look for individuals that are of like minds. We don't always have to agree, but I look for individuals that have of like mind. I look for individuals that have walked the road that I want to walk, that have succeeded
Mhm.
on the road that that I'm looking at going down. And I model them. I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions. And the last thing is I try to be consistent. And sometimes you get frustrated because everything is not going to go as you think it should, but consistency will always bring you to where you're supposed to be. Those are my 3 that I look at.
100%.
Awesome. So Sean, what would be your 3?
It's so funny. I was just thinking, like, as I'm listening to y'all, like, I don't have no more. You guys said them all. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting hearing y'all. It's like, it's just I'll just piggyback, right? Because you guys really did nail, like, I would say, like, the top 3. I could think of some other ones, but like you kind of hit the ones that were super important. You said write something down. So I'm always journaling. I started doing that on 2 sides. Really, one was on my personal life, if you will, and that helped me tremendously just because it was showing me my thoughts. But in addition to this journaling, we y'all was saying writing down tomorrow's day, or what I need top 3, like what you're asking me, the top 3 things I need to do
Mhm.
tomorrow to move my mission, purpose, business, whatever it is that I need to move the needle in my life forward. I write that down the previous night. So very similar to Judge, which I was saying, because that way it's already working in my mind, and my mind is already going to work on it when I go to sleep. So
Absolutely.
I do that a lot too. So very similar to what y'all was saying. So I'll piggyback on that. Another one, y'all, I think you said, Nicole, was surround yourself by like-minded people. That's like super major for me right now. Again, why we're even here. Um, circle's very lean, but mean because I don't let too many people in my, I won't say not let in. It's just being careful of who I surround myself with because of that factor of your network is your net worth is very true. As I've grown, going back to this whole conversation, like again, nothing I won't be only want to be around certain mindsets. Because of that factor, right? I want to be in rooms that are stretching me, actually, and that because it feels uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, they're taking you to another level because they're stretching you. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Um, so you surround myself by people that are like-minded, but also that are in a higher elevation than I am in mindset in different areas. Put it this way: would I trade places with people, whether it be their lifestyle, money, relationships, things of that nature is kind of what I look at. So surrounding myself by people that I would strive to be like or model after is what you were saying, Curtis. I think that's another thing that's dope that I actually want to model in my life. And then three would be yeah, I want to say like meditating, being still. Like
Yeah.
there's so much noise out here. I feel like once I do those things and I write down my plan and everything, I've really found that just, yeah, man, being still. 'Cause I used to run around with so much chaos attached to the bills and noise around the house and all that like you have to weed through all of that too as well to make sure I'm making the right moves. I've learned that I don't like doubling back, is what I
Yeah.
call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What I'm saying? 'Cause you're gonna have to go back and fix it if you didn't make the right move the first time. Like it's gonna show up. So and that's happened to me so much. Yeah, I don't like doubling back on too much in life. So I guess my third one is just being still and making sure I'm making a good calculated move that feels
Yeah.
right. So those would be my
For
top
sure.
three.
And last thing I got from you, Sean, that goes along with the writing it down is creating the vision boards.
100%.
Mm.
Creating
Yes.
the vision boards because for me, once I can like literally see it, it gives me the target that I'm shooting for. I
Mhm.
know I write it down and all that's paramount because if you have to get it out of your mental and bring it into the physical being. Writing it down does that.
Mhm.
But physically seeing it laid out on a vision board, so those two things together are
Mhm.
powerful for me.
Absolutely. Yes. We had a lot of good nuggets
100%. I was thinking the
that we had
same
dropped
thing.
in. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, have you got any other closing remarks or anything that you think we didn't miss as far as betting on yourself or that we need to add?
No,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
think the betting on yourself is different for everyone. And if I would just have the last thing to say is whatever that looks like for you, do it. Just bet on yourself, whatever that looks like for you, because it's different for everyone. But whatever that looks like for you, do it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And Sean, let them know if they want help with trying to, figure this thing out. What can they do? Tell our audience where they can go, how they can.
100%. Yeah. So I was just thinking about our event. I'll actually pull it up here. And kind of just closing out with what Curtis was just talking about. I'm in that agreement though too. It's not about necessarily having to change a person's way of how they operate really, but it's just giving them some insight. I like to say level of awareness, right? I think,
Exactly.
yeah, level of awareness is super important on all angles because we all can learn from each other. Again, there's no difference between that's I think I understand the concept around money is my biggest takeaway that I want to say, and then leading into what Nicole just talking about. We always have we're starting our we call it our Mentor for Kings workshop. It's actually a challenge, so I'll pull it up here really briefly. And what we would like to do is just invite everyone out to this challenge. And what's cool here is I'm glad I have one of I'm super excited about that. I'll kind of maybe have you close off with that. But we started a Solution is Kings community specifically to just talk more about these different elements to help men have a more I like to say more balanced life, if you will, but a lot of different elements. So we want to invite you out to our next challenge where we're going to be talking about a few things, right? And you can expect to hang out with us for a couple of hours for about 3 days out the week. We do these about once a month. Again, this here is specifically talking to entrepreneurial men, fathers, and things of that nature. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or advanced. This is going to be talking to you from a couple of areas. I want to share with you just some of the breakthroughs that you can expect over the 3 days from just hanging out with us. This is virtual, right? But the first breakthrough we always like to talk about is just paying yourself first. We always like to talk about our legacy keys, but this event is wrapped around understanding how to pay yourself first, taking some actionable steps and moves to break free from being even overworked or just at that 9 to 5 so you can secure your family's legacy, like we were talking about today. Like, how do you do that? We're going to talk about that on the workshop, or the challenge, I should call it, because it is a challenge. It's designed to really challenge you and stretch you, and help you be able to grow in these areas. The breakthrough number 2 that you can expect is how do you develop a quick plan, like we were talking about, to elevate your cash flow and gain control over your life, even if you struggle with money management before, right? So you can expect that breakthrough. And then number 3 is how to have a step-by-step plan, right? To create your own legacy, your own strategy. And my favorite part is based off of your own unique family values and goals. So we just like to get a level of awareness because we're all different. We all got different values, boundaries, all these different things. But the concepts, like I like to say, principles are transferable, and we can talk about that, but we're all sitting on the same type of foundation. It's just like, what are we building on it? So we like to let you choose that for yourself, so that way you can secure your own prosperous legacy for your own family and how you see that seeing fit. So that's how they can get a hold and kind of take this to the next level. Come to this page. I'll leave a link somewhere around this video, but we're also going to help you with getting clarity on that reality. We dropped some nuggets here that helps us get clear on our reality, on how we're able to take some action steps. But we're going to cover our 4 C's, which talks about how to create, contribute, connect, and cultivate your ideas to create your reality. Okay, so that's day 1. And day 2, we talk about the 4 solid income killers. I really like to really drive this home because this is stuff that's ciphering money away from people that they don't really know. There's another reason why I was just saying a business is important, because it helps overcome these. But inflation, taxes, big business, and debt is things that's taking money out of our households, regardless if we know it or not. And one of the ways of overcoming that is, and it doesn't have to be a profitable business. We'll talk about that. But just having one in place helps to eliminate a lot of these silent income killers. And then on the 3rd day, we'll talk about our legacy keys, right? Super excited about we putting this together, but it helps understand what are some of the keys, the moves that you can take. These are transferable. Anyone can create a legacy for their family. So understand how to create leverage in your life, how to re-educate yourself a little bit, because they don't teach this stuff in school. The game of life, being more strategic, like we were talking about here, and understand how to leverage assets and cash flow. And this is one of the ones I'm super excited about now. It's just yourself. Pay yourself, but more importantly, how do you take care of yourself, self-love, have that right mindset? How do you become that better version of yourself all the way around by understanding how to encompass all these moves? So we'll leave a link down here. You can choose which element to be the best for you. You can either do a general admissions or a VIP. Pick which one is the best for you. I always say go with the VIP because you can get more of a even more in-depth, intimate experience, get your questions answered, and get some more bonuses and things of that nature. You can check all that stuff out here on the page, but that'll be how you can find us. And yeah, we're super excited. We're gonna be doing these. This was fun, y'all, to be honest with you. I think I would love to do this once a week. I'm sure that's what we were shooting for. I would hope so, but this is our very first one. And the reason we wanted to do it is because we've been doing these conversations all the time behind the scenes, and we just said, man, we got to start recording these conversations that we're having, because there'll be nuggets that we're taking away from them that's really impacting our lives and our community's lives. And so our solution is Kings. And I just wanted to leave out because obviously you see there's a queen here, and that's for a reason. She's definitely, we want to say, our secret weapon. I don't know if you have anything or insights. We can leave it for another call, but we do have a solution as Queens element where Nicole would be steering that ship because the queens need it too as well. So it actually makes me feel good because I did feel like I was leaving out the queens at some point, right? But that's not our lane either, right? So it's good to have Nicole here helping us and hearing men's point of views and some of the topics that we're talking about, but then also bringing in that feminine perspective. So I don't know if you guys got any closing words on that. I'll leave a link for if you want to check us out at the workshop. There'll be a link to do that. Definitely grab that. We got a free community too as well. Just go through the funnel. There's some free bonuses and things for you, but that's my closing words for today.
Well, the last thing I'll say about what you just said, Shauna, is if there are any topics or anything out there that you guys would like to hear us discuss, leave a comment, and we'll definitely look at it, and we'll see. We'll go through the process of see if that's a comment or that we want to discuss. So leave us comments about that because we definitely
100%.
look at them.
Absolutely. You got any closing words, Nicole, before we shut down?
No, just believe in yourself. All these nuggets were great today. Just believe in yourself, invest in yourself, take a chance on yourself, and we're here for you.
Yeah,
Sounds,
because think about this: if you don't, who will?
man, I'm gonna leave that right there, brother. Good stuff. Appreciate y'all. We look forward to seeing y'all on our next Solution is Kings podcast, where we'll be talking about topics specifically about how to, create a legacy for your family, living a well-balanced life in business, health, and in relationships. So we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.